financial expert Stefan Borson is with myself and Simon here as we're picking over the bones of Nottingham Forest's reaction to their 4-point deduction yesterday. And of course, Chelsea maybe will not go unpunished as well. Many of you are saying you've got to bring up the subject of Chelsea, and of course, many of you, a great many of you, are encouraging us to push Stefan on what may or may happen further down the line to Manchester City. Because of that, we're staying with this. Nottingham Forest, of course, a 4-point deduction yesterday, docked 4 points for breaching the Premier League's financial rules. And of course, this follows hard on the heels of the deduction that Everton were hit by, and that was reduced, of course, in the process of time. Mick is an Evertonian who is desperate to come on and join us. Mick, good morning. Sorry for the wait. Stefan's here, Simon's here. What do you want to say?
Yeah, good morning. This one's for Stefan. It's something he said before about if it's a sporting advantage is gained, then it has to be a sporting penalty, i.e. points deduction. But in Everton's case, the inquiry said they did not gain a sporting advantage because the overspend was on the stadium. So
Stefan's shaking his head, mate. Stefan's shaking his head.
No, go on, please.
Yeah, look, I'm afraid it's one of the great misnomers of the whole Everton case that there was no sporting advantage. It came out very early on, and frankly, Everton fans have been misled.
Hang on a second, Mick.
Everton fans have been misled. Both the Independent Commission and the appeal said very, very clearly Everton had a sporting advantage. It was inferred, and it was significant, and therefore it required a sporting sanction. That the case, the race on sporting sanction for a sporting advantage has already been run, and there's no way back, really. I mean, there are scenarios where.
Does he have any substance in his observation that he's making that ultimately the overspend was on the stadium rather than on the? That's his point.
That's your point, Mick, right?
Well, okay. Well, that's also wrong.
Hang on, Stefan.
Well, that's also
wrong then.
It's wrong. I'm afraid it's wrong. I mean, the Independent Commission and the appeal both found that the spend was not on the stadium solely, and there was a gross overspend in respect of player transfers and player wages, and that's the bottom line. They overspent, and they knew the rules, and whether it's not. These are not my decisions, and they're not my views. This is what the Independent Commission and the appeal both said.
But it's also important to remember, Mick, is that we're not talking about Everton starting from a position of being £20 million over. They were £250 million over, and then pared back from there. There were allowable adjustments that brought them back further, and they put in every single opportunity. And it was their calculations. It was Everton's calculations. Everton advanced their own case. Everton brought in on their ARGUES, and Everton's own calculations brought them £20 million over, not the Premier League's calculations.
Mate, on you go, mate.
I've listened to Simon a lot on this, and I do believe I understand him completely. He's absolutely right about all the rest of it. But the insinuation yesterday was Forest got points given back to them because they cooperated. Well, so did Everton.
No, the level of no. I mean, again,
that's not right, Mick.
Mick, here's Stefan.
Again, very clearly, the Independent Commission found that there was a very material difference in the level of cooperation between Everton and Notts Forest, to the point where I've said Notts Forest, which Nottingham Forest fans will be furious.
No, you're quite
I apologise for
yourself.
that. It is Nottingham Forest.
That's fine.
But it is very clear in the decision that the cooperation of Nottingham Forest was far in excess of Everton, to the point where they give a whole schedule of things that Nottingham Forest did that the Premier League appreciated within this case. And furthermore, they also gave credit for an early admission. So there was no messing around and saying that they hadn't breached or that they'd only breached by a certain amount. It was very, very quickly established that there was an agreement on the level of breach on the 35 million, and therefore that got credit in the way that it would do in many other types of tribunal or courts. So That's why Everton didn't get a 2-point mitigation in the way that Nottingham Forest did. They were different cases.
I think Mick has just got to accept that, quite simply. We're going to take one more Forest caller. We're going to take a bulletin at 11:30. And then, Stefan, I think, because you can see the volume of calls coming in and the volume of interest in this, of course, we're going to stay this for another 15 minutes. The thing is this, we will talk Chelsea. And we will talk Manchester City. But Matthew, Nottingham Forest fan, you can take us to 11:30. What do you want to say to Stefan and Simon?
Yeah, morning, guys. Great show again as usual.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah, basically, the amount of players that Forest signed when we come up. I mean, I know it looked a bit of a scattergun approach, but 26 players left that squad when Forest came up. We started this. Well, we went into the pre-season with 6. I think it was 6 senior players. So it might have looked a little bit scattergun, but we needed quality in depth right the way through. And again, had Marinakis have not to spend that money, I think we probably would have been at the bottom of the league all season. So, like we're saying, like a calculated risk. If Forest do manage to stay up, because I don't think for 1 minute, after spending 300 million, Marinakis thought we was going to be 17th or 18th at this stage of the season.
Right.
I think unfortunately, that's what's happened. But so if we was to do stay up, then yes, it was a calculated risk. We've breached by 30 million, but we make 150 million in Premiership money. You know what I mean? Other clubs could do the same, overspend, stay up anyway, and then you still get the Premier League money anyway.
Matthew, Stefan wants to engage with you directly.
Well, only that you just articulated exactly what happened. You're correct. They took a calculated risk, and that was the equation that they ran. So you're right. Yeah. I mean, that is it.
Matthew, listen, thanks for your call. Stefan, so many messages coming in, and I hate to tell you, you're driving some people mad by saying the rules are the rules. But what else can you say?
Well, they're not my rules. I'm just explaining what the decisions that have been taken by the independent commissions and by the Everton appeals say, and then overlaying that with what the rules say.
Do you like the subjectivity of what people perceive to be cooperation? Do you like that subjectivity? I know that when sentencing guidelines are given in courts of law, they take into consideration the preparedness to cough to the crime pretty quickly. But do you like the element of subjectivity? Because that's what fans will dispute and not be able to compute, which is, hang on a second, one person's cooperation is another person's, different view on it. Well, do you think that enables people to be more clear in their understanding of the independent commission's vantage point? Because there is subjectivity being deployed to things.
Of course, and I've sat here and argued very strongly with you that City and Everton both have the right to push their case in the way that they want. Well, you may call it that. The bottom line is, and actually Nottingham Forest had a dig at Everton in terms of Everton's approach on the expedited nature of...
Well, they wouldn't they? Because it highlights how wonderful they are.
Well, it does. But as it happens, it appears that when they went into the independent commission, the Premier League was quite happy to, right from the start, to support Everton's case for mitigation in respect of cooperation. So that was one where they were on common ground. I can see there being some value for the Premier League, especially in a system that's now got extremely tight timetables. Yeah. I can see that there is value to the Premier League in keeping costs down, in keeping the hearing to just 2 days, probably 1.5, versus Everton's 5 original days. There's a lot of value there. You can, if you read through the decision, it explains that on a number of occasions, Forest effectively accepted some of the things that they were told by the Premier League,
not wasted time debating
and didn't waste time.
Right.
So you can understand there being a special mitigation for cooperation. But likewise, I would also defend the right of a defendant or a respondent to defend themselves all day long in whatever way they wish.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.